We're going to be talking about Digimon Data Squad or Savers. We're going to be talking about the sub specifically, which is Savers. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Savers on my second watch through. This is my second time ever watching it. I skipped out on it as a kid, but I watched it for the first time about a year and a half ago, I'd say. Didn't really like it back then, to be honest. If you saw my drunk explaining Digimon video, you'll see some of my thoughts on that, but I was very bored with it at the time. So I had it on the very bottom, well, not quite the very bottom, close to the bottom of my favorites from all the Digimon seasons. So yeah, it was just above season 3 of Cross Wars, just barely. But yeah, that's how I felt before, because when I watched it the first time, I wasn't really too invested, I guess. I was watching with friends at the same time while we were talking, so it kind of was like a half paying attention deal. And sometimes I'd have drinks, so a lot of this stuff kind of just went over my head. But yeah, at the time I was just bored with it. But this time I gave it an honest shot and really paid attention and watching it by myself and without alcohol for the most part. I did have one night I watched it under the influence of alcohol, but spoilers, and Tasso was right. Hold on. Let's not jump to the conclusions quite yet. We're just getting started here. Tasso over here is the one who recommended me to go give it another shot, so I was like, all right, let's give it another shot. And definitely turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to be, which is definitely a plus. So my overall enjoyment definitely was a lot better. I wasn't bored. I was very much involved with everything happening. There's going to be some details I mess up, probably, and things I don't remember because I watched it in one big long 1 month session or so. And yeah, it's hard to remember shit when you go through something that fast. But I do have some notes here written down for like points I want to make and whatnot. But yeah, let's just say it's no longer my second least favorite. It's definitely jumped up. Right as of right now, it's doing better than it was. So if I were to give my old ranking on that, I don't know. It was like a C- enjoyment before. Maybe a little less. Maybe it was like a D for me in the past. But now it's probably like around a B-, B+, maybe around there. I'm still mulling it over a little bit. Let's get into some details about the show. Starting off with the characters. So I have written down here, they're going to be in the Japanese names too. So everything we're talking about is going to be in the Japanese sub. So nothing dub related. I might have to watch the dub at some point later. We're going to talk about Masaru, or Marcus. Dude, this guy I liked right off the bat, even from when I first watched it. He was already like fucking awesome, but he's super funny because he just decides he's going to slug all Digimon for some reason. Like they all get the smoke, and there's no discriminating, dude. And I love that about him. He's super different from all the other protagonists. He's got a lot of attitude, super driven and loud. But yeah, I like Masaru a lot. What else about Masaru? So they have a little bit of backstory about him and stuff. Like he had his father who went missing in the digital world and whatnot. So he's kind of like, he's taking on his father's role at home because he's no longer there. So big brother's got to take care of his mom and little sister because he has a little sister and his mom. And he's a big fighter in school, so everyone knows him as like, is it like Masaru the Bruiser or some shit? I can't remember what they called him, but he had a reputation. You like how Marcus had some self-doubt early on, especially comparing himself to Thomas. He did, for sure. The dynamic between them was interesting for the first little bit of the series. So he was a bit of a roughhouser, if you will. But he met Agumon. That's his partner. A different Agumon from Tai is a very different one. Not quite the same evolution at all. He's got little red glove thingies on for some reason. I don't know what the point in that is still, but makes him different. He's got bigger nostrils. He's got a bigger head. Definitely slightly bigger than regular Agumon. So yeah, that's his partner that he runs into, and they end up bonding over fighting. they feel each other's emotions through punches, and it works, you know. That's how he does it. That's how he does it. That's kind of like a baseline of Masaru. And then we got Toma, rich boy, white boy. At first, you don't like the guy. I didn't like him at first, but he grows on you eventually. He's just a very tough shell, very full of himself sometimes. But yeah, he's like doing this all for the sake of his little sister who's like clinically ill and needs money for like some sort of operation. So he's working extra hard. All right, so yeah, Toma, him and Marcus don't get along with each other at all in the beginning. They're just butting heads and shit. Very much just like, fuck you. And Toma's partner is Gaomon, which is really interesting to me because Gaomon's voice actor is, excuse me, Zoro from One Piece. And I was like, what? I mean, I remember that from the first time around, but then it like went out of my memory because Zoro takes precedence. And it was weird to hear Zoro saying, yes, master. Yes, master. And it's like, Zoro wouldn't submit to a master, dude. But, you know, I got over that quickly. Don't worry. It's not like the only thing that was in the back of my head whenever we saw Gaomon. But yeah, in the beginning, I was like, Zoro. But yeah, that's Toma's partner. And he's very obedient to Toma. He's just like a dog, you know? That's what he is. But yeah, they don't like each other at first, Masaru and Toma. And then eventually they end up like actually having a fucking slug off and boxing and shit, you know? And then they've understood each other's feelings, and then they're like, you're pretty cool after all, you know? That's how it works, so it feels like, for them. It's just like, they gotta understand each other through fighting. And then we got Yoshino, who was part of the organization DATS with Toma before Masaru joins. DATS is like a police force that deals with Digimon phenomenon that happen across the city. So yeah, she's in there with Toma right now. And yeah, her partner's Lalamon, which is like a grass type, or plant rather. I never really liked Lalamon, to be honest. I still don't. The design is boring to me. I mean, I like the evolutions, but not so much the rookie. But yeah, she's like the one that tries to be the, how do you say it, like tries to get between Masaru and Toma and when they're fighting and all that, and like tries to keep them in line and shit. She's like a big sister or something, right? Had to look up what Digimon Savers was. Her champion was boring too. You mean Sunflowermon? It's alright. It's better than Slalamon. At least in my opinion. Yeah, Yoshino has a little bit of a backstory with some stuff about when she was younger, and always worried about screwing up stuff or whatnot, I think. It's something about a piano recital. It's hard to remember, but they couldn't do the piano recital and they were scared. Yeah, she had a little bit of a growing moment, but it wasn't as much as Masaru or Toma. Yeah, Yoshino is in the story, basically. That's how I feel. She's just in there for most part. Ikuto, little homie, he's the youngster that comes through like later on, like 10 episodes in, I think. His partner is Falcomon, which is pretty alright. I think Falcomon's chill. I do like when Falcomon becomes down the line as an ultimate and a mega though. But they find him in the digital world. He's just a kid chilling in the digital world. He said he was born there, like his mom's a Digimon and all that. And yeah, he's having an identity crisis essentially. So Ikuto has a lot of story for him, and it's super interesting. At first, when I was first watching it, my first time around, I thought he was annoying. I was like, this kid just can't figure out life, huh? But now that I'm gone through some more series and had a reevaluate of it, I'm like, okay, now I understand it. It's gotta be tough to be thrusted into the digital world at that young age and not know your real parents and all that shit. You know, it's probably a fucking lot on someone's mind. But yeah, he got yeeted into the digital world by his fucking stupid ass parents. I gotta say, his parents were stupid to have him in that room where they do the digital warp thing. He got sucked in. I was like, why do you have your child in the laboratory, dude? That's on you. You literally are the reason why he is fucked up. And I was like, God damn, dude, those parents are the worst parents in Digimon history. He thought his caretaker after he went into the digital world, which he considered mom, was Yukidarumon. Yukidaru? Yeah, it is Yukidarumon. Or Frigimon, yeah. What else? But yeah, Ikuto has a lot of problems in his psyche because of that, and trouble trying to like get along with people and accept that Masaru, Toma, and Yoshino are his friends and that are there for them. There's a lot more story to that, but yeah, eventually he does come around though, and realizes that he's in good hands with these people, you know. But yeah, that's kind of like a baseline on each of the characters there. So four, interesting, a four group. It started out as a trio, but it became four. Usually, I'm used to Digimon series having either 3 or a bunch, like more than 6. You know, 6 plus. It's always been 3 or 6 plus, but this one's like a 4. What'd you call it? What's a trio and then a quartet, I guess. Yeah, we can talk more about their Digimon partners, which we'll start with Masuru's Agumon. I already mentioned a little bit about him already. He's a bigger Agumon with the red gloves on him, or like straps, I guess, more so. They're not even really gloves. And yeah, he's a little more rough and tumbly than Agumon from Adventure. Definitely a little more attitude. He's still the same hungry and dumb Agumon though. Very hungry and dumb sometimes, but he's got a lot of love in his heart and a lot of spirit. And speaking of spirit or soul, they got Digisoul. That's a different thing they use in the series. Digisoul Charge. They use the power of their feelings and whatnot to get to higher levels, the power of their convictions and all that. It's pretty cool. It's like adding that extra energy to your Digimon that way. But yeah, that's how they definitely Digivolve. Masaru punches Digimon for that power for some reason, but Toma, Yoshino, Ikuto can just do it by yelling, I guess. Yeah, Agumon then goes into Geo Greymon, which I think is a really, really cool Greymon design. Super pointy, and I have memories, very, very vague memories that it came to mind when I was younger. I was like 14 or 15 at the time, and I saw Geo Greymon was a thing, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And I was so like enthralled by how it looked, and then I never looked into what series it was from. I just thought it was cool, and then here we are later remembering that. But yeah, Geo Greymon's got that like cool little blue stripe design on him, and also spikes everywhere. Super spiky boy. And he goes into Rise Greymon, which I think's pretty badass. He gets like a crazy ass big ass revolver hand, and his wings get all like, it looks kind of like fingers and shit. I don't know, they're like really spread out long wings, I guess. Rise Greymon's pretty sick. I think I like him over Shine Greymon, which is pretty interesting because I normally like Megas over Ultimates most of the time. But I think I like Rise Greymon over the next form, Shine Greymon. And I found this out recently too, that Rise Greymon and Shine Greymon are a play on Rise and Shine, and that blew my mind. Theirs is a little too clean for me. I prefer Metal Greymon. Oh, me too. I mean, I was just talking about where we're these Greymon specifically, but yeah, I do agree. But yeah, Rise and Shine, which blew my mind. I was like, wow, okay, cool. That's an interesting gimmick to go. Yeah, Shine Greymon, he's very colorful. I feel like his design's a little busy for me. I don't really care for it too much. Then they go into some extra form that's further beyond, called Burst Mode. And Shine Greymon got 2. He got the bad one, which is like a dark Digivolution in a way. Shine Greymon Ruin Mode, which was pretty sick, but it was pretty sad too at the same time, the anguish they go through to get through that form. And then you have regular Burst Mode, which is the super powerful badass good form that isn't out of control like Ruin Mode is. I do prefer Shine Greymon Burst Mode over all other Greymons though, I think. Oh really? Burst Mode Shine Grey is your favorite out of all the Greymons. They've definitely gone up in rank for me. I used to not care too much about Burst Mode, but his flamey ass bursts of flames obviously is like, oh man, it's so good. But yeah, Burst Mode Shine Greymon, pretty cool. He also has this other form where he gets a sword. I forgot what the sword's called, if you guys remember it. Very biased about the sword and shield combo. Yeah, I figured. Ruin mode looks better to me. Ruin mode's crazy. It's vicious because it just completely destroys your Digimon after it's done. And it destroys itself. Chio Gray Sword, that's right. Yeah, that thing's pretty cool. I like how it looks. That sword is like a cool double edge thing. All right, now we move on to Gaomon, his evolutions. We got Gaogamon, which is like our Garurumon of this season. He's a very Shiba Inu. He's got a really curly tail, and he still retains his like boxing gloves on his paws. So he runs on all fours, but he's still got boxing gloves on. He's still gonna throw hands. I think Gaogamon's pretty cool. His little curly tail makes him adorable though. Like he's no longer like Garurumon like badass. He's just cute. And then we get Mock Gaogamon, which is like he gets like sunglasses and he's standing up now and he's all like yeah. And he's got like really cool fucking glove designs and shit. I think he looks pretty cool as Mock Gaogamon. He looks like a biker to me. What's his fucking name? How am I forgetting this? Mirage Gaogamon. That's his name. Mirage Gaogamon. He looks like a royal knight, but with the dog head. In my Blue Sky posts, I made a post about it, and like, who's that? Someone put a comment. Who's that? Who's that jet plane guy? It's not a jet plane. That's a dog knight. Like a jet plane knight. I was like, I could see why you thought that, but it's because his chest piece is like super pointy and long. Like it juts out real far, and it looks like a jet engine tip. You know what I mean? So I understand why. It was just funny to see. But yeah, and then he goes into his burst mode, which is pretty goddamn cool. He gets like a cool weird crescent thing with like a ball and chain. I don't know how to explain his weapon. It's really weird. It's like made out of light. I like it a lot. It's like moon energy or some shit. I don't know. You know, because like Shine Greymon's got the power of the sun. He's got the moon energy. Kind of makes sense. And we got Lalamon. Don't really care for the rookie, like I said. Sunflowermon is a little bit better, but not by much. Just like a weird dinosaur sunflower. Like the body is dino, but the head is sunflower. That's how I describe it. After that, we get Lilamon. Not to be confused with Lilymon. Lilamon. Lilymon's taller cousin, I guess. They're alright. They're just look very much like Lilymon, but bigger to me. Oddly enough, Sunflowermon, it fits Floramon more because Floramon had the lizard tail and it's just blooming. Exactly, yeah, that's definitely makes more sense. I get that for sure. If Yoshino had a Floramon, I'd be a lot more forgiving of that, I think. And then Rosemon, of course, we gotta love Rosemon, our BDSM Rose Queen. And don't even get me started on her burst mode, alright? She gets fully white, like a white rose. It's freaking awesome. Yeah, you just gotta love Rosemon, what can I say? And then we got Ikuto, who gets up from, I think, Pekmon, right? Is it Pekmon? The ostrich ass looking thing? Didn't like Pekmon too much. It didn't really fit the Falcon vibe, you know? I really don't know what they could have done different to make it better. But we got it. It was a ninja emu, ninja ostrich. Then we got Yatagaramon, which is the cool ass fucking crow thing. I love that. That's a good vibe to go for. Especially love Yatagaramon in excuse me, in Digimon Survive. I know you get one in there. And then after Yatagaramon, we get Ravemon, who is also pretty cool. He's one of my favorites. He might be my favorite. I really like Ravemon. Not just because the edge, but they carried me through Digimon Hacker's memory grinding. They were literally the one-shotting all the things I needed. And I was getting all the Platinum Numamons to absorb all the XP with all the USB drive shit. And you know what I mean? If you know, you know. But Ravemon was my one-hitter quitter guy for many, many hours of grinding. And I appreciate Ravemon for his service. And also his design is sick. Burst mode, super top tier as well. That purple look on it, oh my god, gotta love that purple glow. Them wings, them feathers, so good. Yeah, all the Digilines, I think Ikuto's, well, his final evolution is my favorite, but if you get the whole package of all the Digimon and all their evolutions out of all of them, I might just be boring and say Masaru. because I pretty much say all of his are pretty good. I have some hits and misses with Toma, Yoshino, and Ikuto, but Masaru is pretty solid all the way through. Main character energy, you know. But yeah, those is how their partners get over the course of the series. One aspect that really went over my head the first time that I didn't fucking understand how it got over my head was the fact that all the Digimon are kaiju sized. Like, that was amazing. I love kaijus, I love Godzilla, and I was like, holy shit, all right, this shit's badass now. Like, immediately, like within the first 2 episodes, there was already giant Digimon appearing. I was like, whoa. The giant Kokotarimon, a giant Flymon, a giant Digimon. That fight was sick, the Digimon fight. Those beginning fights, Vilemon, a giant ass Vilemon. I was like, holy goddamn, dude, I didn't know I needed this in my life. Giant Vilemon was so cool. Like, he looks like he belongs in that size. I was like, god, it makes me wish we had more of that. So that was cool, seeing all the champions, ultimates and megas appearing ginormous. There was one that really made me laugh though, which was Biomon. Masaru's little sister somehow gets like her own partner, I guess you could say, even though she's not really part of their group. She just kind of does things offhand here and there. But anyway, Biomon is their partner and they're ginormous. I couldn't believe how fucking huge Biomon was. I was like, why are you taking up half the screen right now? Like, Christ, we didn't need to make you that big. But for some reason they thought it was like, all right, let's just make Biomon 4 times as big as they were before. They reminded me of how Agumon's size was in the first ever Digimon movie. Like, Agumon got like 7 feet tall. You know, that's what Biomon reminded me of. Yeah, I really like that vibe a lot. Kaiju sized Digimon. We need more of that in more series. I want to see the Digimon be big boys. We got some villains and bioforms, what I have written down. So the villains are they're like humans. It's weird. The humans are the villains for the most part. I mean, we've had human villains in the past, but this has a big emphasis on a lot of humans being villains. We have Dr. Kuraha, I think his name was. Was that his name? I don't remember his fucking name. Hold on. Oh yeah, it's Kurata. Kurata's his name. Yeah, that's his name. Kurata. Not Kuraha. Kurata. That guy's an asshole. He took one traumatic experience he had with a Digimon that was entirely his fault for overreacting to and getting all up in arms about, and it's all because of his own feelings like that he became an evil motherfucker. The villain Kurata, he ended up being bad because of his trauma with something that happened to him, and he was on the same Digimon Adventure Squad, well, not Adventure Squad, but like a survey squad that went into the digital world with Masaru's dad and a bunch of other people. And he ended up being a piece of shit and doing some bad things to the digital world. And yeah, he ended up hurting a lot of Digimon, getting rid of their data forever, not even revert to Digitama status. They just die, they don't come back. And that's pretty fucked up. So he designed these fucked up Digimon he made these Digimon to be just like delete them and completely and use their energy to make something else happen, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, Kurata's a piece of shit. And then we have these other kids that are antagonists to Masaru, Toma, Yoshino, and Ikuto, which are these bioform kids. They literally merge their DNA together with Digimon. And they make them more powerful somehow. And yeah, their bioforms I think are really weird. They have like green colors on them. Some of them are cool, but they have like this green color to them that just make them look off. Like we have like a bioform Darkstramon, bioform Spinomon, a bioform Lotusmon. And they all have like slight differences to the main style. But yeah, the bioforms they call them, and they're pretty powerful for a while, and they were stumping the group for a bit by really giving it to them. They end up surviving somehow, beating their asses over many fights, and yeah, they get through them after at some point. And then some new villains end up coming around, which are the Royal Knights apparently, or villains again. like they were in Frontier, kind of. Frontier was only 2 of them, so this one has more of them. Not every single one, but like we're missing Gankumon, Jesmon, Big Dragon Boy. I forgot his name, the biggest one. But we do, and Alphamon's not there. We did have Magnamon, Alphamon, Gallantmon, the Leopard Guy, Craniumon, Sleepmon, maybe one more, I can't remember at the top of my head. Yeah, the Royal Knights come through to be like, human world's a mistake, get out of here. I'm gonna destroy it now. I was like, well, that's that. We're gonna die. Nah, but, so all the stuff that Kurata did in his area, he did a bunch of bad stuff. He ended up using all that data for evil to make Belphamon into a reality, which Belphamon's a demon lord. And yeah, they had to fight Belphamon. That's another thing. So Belphamon, yeah, he's a demon lord. He's the lord, the demon of Sloth, I think. Yeah, it's gotta be Sloth. And yeah, the purpose of deleting all those Digimon and their Digitama data and all that was to feed him, to make him, you know, wake him from his slumber, I guess. To take over the world and the digital world at the same time. And yeah, they gotta fight that motherfucker. And I gotta say, I gotta bring this up too. Belphamon's double cheeked up, like real cheeked up, dude. It's fucking hilarious. There's a moment in the series where they're just looking up at him and there's just cheeks in the air and they just like, whoa, they look like they're enamored, like they're just blown away by the cheeks. It's the best shit, dude. It's so funny. And they end up beating him, but they end up having a Kurata merge with Belphamon, and he comes out of the chest hole all fucking crazy looking. It looks disgusting. I was like, what the fuck? This is like Digimon Tamers levels of creepy. So he like goes crazy and just it just evolves into him, I guess. And eventually they do end up beating him. I think what Kurata does is, like, as he's falling from out of the destroyed Belphamon body, he's like falling out of it, and I think he clicks something to like rip a tear a hole in space for digital space, and then everything gets all fucked up, and then that's where the Royal Knights come, I think. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of shit happening in the sky. Fucking, you can see the digital world from above, and then when you're in the digital world, you can see the human world from above. It's like a really crazy looking rift, and Digimon are able to slip through freely and all that. And it's kind of bad, and everything's very unstable and crashing. So the Royal Knights are sent to like just completely get rid of the human world so they can save the digital world and then stabilize everything, because Yggdrasil said so. Yggdrasil being the god of the digital world in this universe. Before we get into that, they had visited, I think, the digital world when they got Ikto, and they did some stuff over there. They met some Digimon, so they have experience out there. So there was stuff like Meteormon was there. Meteormon used to be an antagonist. I forgot he was an antagonist along with Marukimon. Yeah, Marukimon was also kind of a villain. He was like poised as one, but he's not technically one. He was just kind of an antagonist for us. Also had like Saber Leomon was there as well. He's like another guy they were fighting. Monster punched the shit out of his tooth. Straight slugged it and it broke off this big ass saber-tooth tiger. I was like, wow, dude. He gives no fucks. Another punching spree from Masaru. But yeah, Marukimon was there, and yeah, they actually meet. What was it, Meteormon? He became Meteormon. Gotsumon. Sorry, I'm like getting my details mixed up. Gotsumon was there at the digital world again when they went back to go see it once it got torn, and he didn't remember anything that happened from previously, so he ended up being a homie too. That was neat. I didn't really like Gotsumon because he was kind of gun-ho about fucking them up. Like, he just like wanted them gone. They need to die. But he ends up forgetting all that shit and just ends up being chill. I like how when he evolved into Meteormon and the animation quality actually went up and he did some cool stuff actually. Yeah, his moves were sick. Like, they look really pretty. I have some screenshots of that somewhere. The real world versus the digital world. Digital world is very naturalistic looking, very wild and open, versus the human world being very city-like, pedestrian suburbia. And when the Digimon flip between, they don't change size really. They kind of stay the same. So like all Digimon are big in the digital world and in the real world, which is interesting. They don't have a juxtaposition of I get smaller when in the digital world, but when I'm in the human world, I'm big, you know? They're just kind of just the size they are across both Burst Evolution and Digivice. So I kind of touched upon that. The power of your Digisoul determines the power of how much you can do with things with your Digimon, I guess, how powerful they can become. Depending on your feelings and your convictions, you can bring forth power. This is told by somebody named the Bancho Leomon. They meet Bancho Leomon in the digital world. He's a badass, and he basically teaches Masaru about how the Digisoul works more, and he's got himself the ginormous Digisoul. He's like Super Saiyan with his Digisoul. He emits so much of that power. Like, it's crazy how much. Bancho Leomon literally has the most Digisoul out of anything. And there's a curveball with him later that I'll bring up. But yeah, he's basically like a mentor to Masaru for a bit, and the whole group in general. And he's just like telling him to be wise about how he uses his Digisoul in burst mode and all that. His feelings have a lot to do with how things work with his Digimon. Like, when you have those negative feelings overpowering everything else, and you want power, those forces of power will be evil and dark. Like when Masaru went ruin mode with Shine Greymon, because he wanted to fucking beat Toma's ass so bad. But if you have such a strong conviction to do good and save someone or something, or you can bring forth that enormous power again, but in the force of good that you can control. And I think that's a pretty neat concept to allow the tamers to have more of an effort involved in the process of fighting. Because I always felt like the tamers really take a back seat for most of the time. They're just kind of standing back and watching and cheering them on and kind of directing them what to do. But their own power as humans are so limited, you know? But like when you have that Digisoul part, the tamers are no longer completely out of the fight when it comes to physically doing anything. Like look at Masaru, for example. He literally broke Saber Leomon's tooth. He went and punched Craniomon's sword with the pointed tip right here to here, like just straight up. He's punched so many motherfuckers. And that's why I like Masaru so much. He was like an enigma amongst tamers. I would love to have a dark form for Digimon that is usually reserved for feelings of hate and frustrations and such, but for people who choose to feel that but couldn't control it, like Skull Greymon. I think there is maybe something like that out there, but usually it's hard to control that shit, so you lose grip on that, like, regardless. I feel you have to have a real strong darkness and will inside you, because darkness is probably one of the hardest things to control, you know? How did they reach their new forms? Like I said, like different moments in the series, you know, you have to bring forth more power, and like they're like usually in a really desperate situation when it happens, and then they end up triumphing over the challenge they have to overcome. It's your basic kind of deal, but sometimes there's outliers, like I said, like depending on their feelings, they'll get a dark Digivolution going, or they'll go for the super powerful forms. Royal Knights and Belphegor, I touched upon a little bit. The Royal Knights are in there. They're under the command of Yggdrasil, who says the digital world needs to go. I mean the human world needs to go. All right, Royal Knights and Belphegor. So Royal Knights come through after Belphegon's defeated. What's interesting is there's a hidden Royal Knight in between our fucking eyes the entire time, or under our noses rather, not in between our eyes. Like right under our noses, there's a Royal Knight with us since the very first fucking episode, I think, which was Kudamon. Dats's leader is a partner. They ended up being Sleepmon, which is a Royal Knight that looks like a centaur horseman. They ended up coming to help, then being like, yo, the humans aren't so bad after all, you gotta listen to me, I've been with them and this and that. Some humans are stupid, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of them that can change for the better and that can do good in this world for both sides. And they were like, fuck you, Yggdrasil's word is Yggdrasil's word, you know? So they end up fighting. Gallantmon and Sleepmon end up fighting, and then Sleepmon goes for that fucking like, I'ma freeze you with me, we're taking you down with me vibe, you know? And they end up sinking to the bottom of the ocean or some shit. It's frozen while buying them time. So they essentially fight all the Royal Knights one by one that are against, except for Omnimon and Magnamon. I don't think they fight them. or Ulforce. I don't think they got to fight. I know Craniumon fought, or Lord Nightmon, the Leopard guy, Gallantmon. Was that it? I think that was it. But yeah, they got to fight those guys, which was pretty cool. Seeing some Royal Knight fights. I'm surprised that Frontier didn't have more Royal Knights. I was a little disappointed in that. They only had those two, Dynasmon and Lord Nightmon. Makes me wonder why they did that. We got more of the Royal Knights with Data Squad, Savers. Pretty nice. I'll take that. That's a definite plus for me. I love the Royal Knights, even if they are being shithead dumbasses, because they're getting told what to do by Yggdrasil, who's very binary way of thinking. This has to happen or else this happens, so we have to get rid of this, and that's it. You know, they're just like one side or the other. They don't have nuance. So that's a flaw with Yggdrasil, I feel, with their mentality as a computer, you know. About Yggdrasil, so the big curveball I was holding back from you guys was that Yggdrasil, spoiler alert, is actually Masuru's dad. And you're like, what? Because we've been searching for this guy this whole series, because we're like, we gotta go to the digital world and look for him and all that. And yeah, we find him. He ends up being Yggdrasil and being a piece of shit. And then Masuru was like, what the fuck? This is dad? What? How was what? And he was having an existential crisis and shit. And it was like, but obviously he's not though, right? Because how could he change so much? Later on, we find out from Bacho Leomon himself, he is actually Masuru's father. And I was like, what, dude? How is this Digimon his father right now? And then he says he like took Masuru's father's just essence into himself, and they are a consciousness in one being. And I was like, okay. But that was crazy. I was like, damn, so his dad's Bancho Leomon, and Yggdrasil just took the form of his dad for some reason. I know there was a reason for it, but I couldn't remember why. So Yggdrasil just swiped his dad's identity, basically. But yeah, Bancho Leomon ended up doing something badass that I think is probably one of the coolest things I've seen, is he held up the digital world and the real world in between his power of Digisoul. He just fucking like charged up and held it all, just holding up two realities, dude. I was like, dude, Bancho Leomon is on another level of badass. Being able to do that kind of shit, like, goddamn. So Bancho Leomon I already liked a lot, but now he's definitely skyrocketing in respect. He's super cool. He finds out his dad's actually Bancho Leomon, and yeah, he's like, oh shit. And then he remembers what it means to be a man. Fucking all that kind of shit, because his dad taught him about being a man, the values and shit. So once we find that out, more stuff like behind the scenes, he met with like Bancho Leomon and Masuru's dad met with the Royal Knights and Yggdrasil. I forgot why. I'm really bad at remembering the details. I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot why he took his identity, but I know that Bancho Leomon, Masuru's dad, went over there to talk to the Royal Knights. And then Yggdrasil says, you're gonna die now or something. And then Bancho Leomon's like, wait, no, I'll kill him because he's my friend. And then he ends up doing a little switcherooski, like, I'll take your soul and mine and then pretend you died or whatever. That's why Masuru was confused about seeing Yggdrasil looking like his dad. And then after some time, Craniumon gets convinced by Masuru after getting his ass beat. Well, yeah, he had like this unbreakable shield, you know, that got broke because, of course, it broke. Masuru did it. But he gained some respect for Masuru. I think realized he was just like his dad or something, and then he went to go see Bancho Leomon, who was holding up the realities between his fucking hands and shit. And he was like, let me take your place, bitch. And he takes his place. And he's like, what are you doing? It's like, your son was over there or some shit. I don't remember. I'm embellishing shit here. But that much is true that he went to go switch places. They fought Yggdrasil. He's like a big robo motherfucker, dude. Like a weird looking, like robotic angel. It looks like very apocalyptic and strange. I was like, it looks like a digital god of some sort. But yeah, Yggdrasil's like a big weird robo angel thing. We whoop its ass. It's like, cannot compute, how can we those you know, there's just like, they can't compute that they're wrong because they're stupid. Very binary way of thinking type of computer. Can't see the nuance, like I said. motherfucker gone. Out of here. Yggdrasil just reverts, right? To like, okay, I understand now. You beat my ass. Like, that's how it went down. Yeah, the story ends with Yggdrasil being rebooted, I guess, in a way, right? You beat Yggdrasil so hard they rebooted. And be like, okay, I get you. What was it? They reverted back the dad because Pancho Leomon and his dad, or was it just the dad? They bring him back to life basically because they're gone. Like after a bit, they just died at some point. I can't remember how. A lot of the details are fleeing me, but I do remember having a good time watching everything. But yeah, it was a pretty happy ending. And then Masuru's like, well, right before it ends completely, they're all having teary-eyed goodbyes and remembering shit and like, oh man, I don't want to leave you, but we have to go back to the digital world, rebuild. And then Masuru's like, fuck it, I'm going with you, Agumon. And they're like, what? And then he goes in, gets warped to the digital world, and it's a happy ending. Masuru and Agumon are out there throwing hands, standing on business, you know, just whooping ass whenever they need to. And they just, it's just one of the most interesting endings because one of the just one tamer's like, nah, fam, I'm going. And he goes, and it's fucking fine. Everybody's like, cool, that's our Masu. Dad, you take care of mom and sister, all right? I did this for fucking, how many years? It was like 7 years or some shit. He said, it's your turn, Dad. Masu Daimon, of course, he's gonna end up in this world. He's a mon. Masuru Daimon. Yeah. That's funny, Daimon. That reminds me, Kurata was always like, Daimon! Daimon! When you get pissed off at them. Yeah, that's the ending of it. I gotta say, this time around, though, I enjoyed myself a lot more. Oh yeah, before we start finishing up any last thoughts here. What's your favorite moment from Digimon Savers, if you've seen it? And if you're watching this on YouTube, comment down below what your favorite moment from Digimon Savers is, if you made it this far. I really want to know. Because let me think of one for me, because I haven't thought about my favorite moment yet. I actually should have, but I didn't. I'm the one asking the questions, you know. I should know what I'm fucking talking about here. My favorite moment, god damn, it's hard. I don't know. I think the moment Bancho Leomon held up both realities with his bare hands for who knows how long. It was a long time. It looked like a long fucking time. He held up both realities with his hands. And that moment was so fucking cool, dude. I couldn't believe my eyes. I think that might be my favorite moment, where Bancho Leomon single-handedly held up both the digital world and the reality between his own body like that. But yeah, if you guys have any moments you want to share with me right now, feel free. It's during the Craniumon fight when he was about to stab Shine Greymon, but Master stops with this punch was so bad. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. I was like, dude, he's literally just punched the shit out of his. He didn't even fucking get hurt. He just stopped it, like metal armor just. Bah! Thomas's moments with his dad were interesting. I also like when Monster had self-doubt moment. You like character development, huh? I haven't talked much about that. I can bring that up too. Toma's relationship with his dad was very, very rocky because his dad was always worried about upholding the family name. What was his last name? I can't remember. But his sister, he did too much to make so his sister could get better. He was trying to do some crazy shit to like insert the DNA of Digimon into his sister so she wouldn't die anymore, but would have costed her individuality, I guess, right? Nornstein, but I don't know how to spell it. Yeah, I think that's right. Nornstein in English. I don't know if it's GP was. Yeah, it is Nornstein. It sounds familiar. You are a Nornstein, you know. He's a very, and it's ended up being that his dad had his own trauma from his own bitch ass mother, you know, so you can't really fully blame the dad for being how he was. You can blame his bitch ass rich white grandma that instilled this kind of bullshit into him, you know, and Toma had to suffer for it. And then in the end, they ended up, you know, understanding each other and forgiving and forgetting. Well, not forgetting, I guess, but like, you know, forgiving each other, which I thought was pretty neat. Resolving that kind of issue is kind of a hard thing to do, you know? Was that the only time Digimon covered human racism? I don't remember, to be honest. I really don't remember. because the granny was racist against Thomas's Asian mom. Ah, that's right. It could be, honestly. That's a pretty heavy topic to bring into like a kids show like that, but it's pretty interesting either way, like seeing those developments in character and like those situations happening in those series. And then Masaru, what was his self-doubt moment again? You gotta remind me what you mean, because I know he had a couple. He got punched out by Thomas and kept failing missions over and over. Ah, yeah, that's true. You just had to square up and stand on business, basically. But Thomas has hands too, like crazy enough, like that white boy can throw some punches. I was surprised that he was able to like actually hold it down with Masaru. And then a little bit of development with Ikuto. I kind of touched upon it, but it took him a while to like actually accept that all of them were with like all of them were gonna be his friends and they were there for him. But he couldn't accept that he was stuck between being a Digimon and a human, and he couldn't figure what the humans did to the Digimon, yet he sees he is a human, and that the Digimon are trying to harm the world that he used to come from, and his friends, like, eventually becomes closer with them. He had a lot of trauma for a youngster, and I'll always blame his shitty parent, his real biological parents. Fuck them, dude. I still don't like them. And then later on in the series, they have another kid, right? And they had him in the laboratory. They had their other kid in the laboratory. They didn't fucking learn goddamn nothing, dude. I was like, are you kidding me, dude? Why are you doing this shit, bro? Fuck. Leave him with the sitter. Leave him with the sitter, for fuck's sake. Why are you doing this? It's gonna happen again, and you're gonna be like, oh no, how could this have happened? Like, what? I was so annoyed with that. You know what I mean, Tasso, right? Why was that Hagurumon so randomly OP? Wait, Hagurumon? Oh yeah, he just changed into the fucking house, right? That thing was wild. Took over the house, became a robot, yeah. And it became something that had a lot of emotion attached to it, which was Ikuto's little fucking robo that he had as a kid while he was crying for his mom, I think, right? It was a weird thing that happened, to be honest. The whole Biyomon storyline was really great too. Yeah, Biyomon was interesting. I brought up the fact that they were really big for a Biyomon, like they're ginormous. But yeah, then they became Garudamon. Or wait, who did they become as a champion? Aquilamon. Yeah, it went Aquilamon, then it went to Garudamon. But yeah, it went crazy, right? And then it ended up reverting back to a Digitama, and then came back later, and then they became actual fucking like partners. Yeah, Garudamon. That was so that you could say it was like an honorary 5th member of the group. Would be Masuru's sister, right? They only had like maybe 2 or 3 moments. Oh, and also I gotta bring up the fact that we also had those 2 other DATS members with the Ponchessmon. I forgot how cool Ponchessmon's evolutions get when they Rook Chessmon and Bishop Chessmon, right? Is that what their names are? I was like, those are really cool. They showed up quite a few times in the background to help when things got rocky. They had some extra backup. And then we had Kudamon, of course. Kudamon became a fucking royal knight, which is crazy. Also, Kudamon's adorable. You gotta give it to Kudamon. They look like the moment that they had with the leader of DATS, like, I feel most comfortable here on your shoulder moment. I was like, aw, that was adorable. That made me a little teary-eyed. What else should I bring up? I have a little bit more time. I could probably talk about it, but I just got to think of some more stuff. I have what I wrote down already is I've already talked about everything, I think. In comparison to other series, I could talk about that I've watched. It reminded me a little bit of Digimon Tamers at some points, which was kind of cool. It was like the city point, the parts in the city where they were fighting with Belphamon, and also the D Reaper in Tamers was similar-ish to me. There's like a big evil force in the city, right? And then you had like a human inside. Like Belphamon had Kurata in his chest, all fucking vicious looking. And then we had the D Reaper with Judy, and I was like, I drew a comparison to that. Data Squad and Tamers kind of have a vibe that is similar to me, but I think I prefer Tamers over Savers still, just by a little bit though, because I don't know, Terriermon, Renamon, and Gilmon are hard to beat as a trio. They're like so good as a trio. So that's why they win, because Lalamon and Galmon fall a little short for me, just a bit. But yeah, I think Tamers is a little bit better for me. But Data Squad is now beating Frontier. I could say that in terms of my outlook. I rewatched Frontier before Data Squad. I enjoyed it more the first time, but I still think I enjoyed Data Squad more, which is crazy. I think the biggest reason for that is I think maybe one of the reasons I will say is because the Royal Knights weren't as involved in Frontier. There was only 2 of them. I was hoping to see more. And then we had Lucamon, who's one of the Demon Lords of Pride, the most powerful one, I would say. Yeah, I think I still like Savers over Frontier. So that has shifted out of the way. I'm not sure about Adventure 2 yet. I need to watch that again too, but Adventure 2 is pretty good. But next to Savers, I still... That's hard. Savers and Adventure 2 are close, I'd say. They're like the closest. I honestly just need to rewatch Adventure 2 again, because it's been a while to like reestablish these like ratings. But as if it were like right now at this moment, since I just watched Savers, I want to say Savers is above Adventure 02. 02 is hard for me because I love Ken's arc, but after Ken's arc, 02 kind of fell flat for me in a lot of ways. Yeah, like after the Digimon Emperor stuff, it kind of like didn't feel like the stakes were as high anymore, at least to me. But then again, I need to rewatch it. Like I said, I don't remember the Malomyotismon stuff too much. But yeah, I think right now at this moment, Savers beats Adventure 2 for me. Adventure 1 still at top, Cross Wars still second. Ghost Game would be third, but Savers I think might get third now. Because I love Ghost Game for Gamamon, but that story is lacking, you know, I can't deny that. I might have to knock down Ghost Game a peg. That's sad for me to say. Data Squad might be number 3 now. No, it can't be. It'd be number 4. Because it'd be Adventure 1 for me, Cross Wars, Tamers, then Data Squad. Or Savers. It'd be 4. I miscounted. Yeah, I think that's where it would land for me. Adventure 1, Cross Wars, excluding season 3 of Cross Wars, that is. Ghost Game was 3. Ghost Game taking the collateral damage, yep. Then Tamers would have knocked it out, and then Savers is right below Tamers, so that's 4. Ghost Game would be 5, then it'd be Adventure 2, then Frontier. Frontier's ending up at the bottom. Oh no. That's crazy. I don't know about that. It doesn't feel right to say. That doesn't feel right to say. I don't know. Frontier might be the bottom, but it doesn't mean that it's bad though. I'm gonna say that. I still actually need to, if I'm considering Adventure 2020 and Adventure Try, should I consider them? I don't know if I should. What do you guys think? They're a big can of worms. But Appmon isn't gonna be rated yet because I still need to finish Appmon. Who knows how I'm gonna feel about that. Not saying that is a bad thing. I'm just saying I just genuinely don't know. I watched maybe like 15 episodes of it in the past. Thought it was kind of cool. I was like, I'm digging the music and the animation, but I couldn't quite follow it and I got distracted with other things and a little bit bored, but doesn't mean it was bad or anything. I just need to really hone in on it, you know? Which I'm planning to after Cross Wars. That's where my ranks would be, I'd say, right now. That's crazy. Poor Frontier. Frontier didn't deserve to go down to the bottom, I think, but let's just say that all of the seasons right now, 7.5 out of 10 or higher. So that means all of them are at least good to decent, and then to really good or the best, you know? It's not all bad for Frontier, right? Right now, it's number 4 on the list. Number 4. Tasso thought it was gonna be higher, but it's pretty high, right? you were like, it's gonna be number 1. Savers, definitely go watch that if you haven't already. It's a pretty goddamn good series. All in all, I had a good time. Second watch through was definitely needed for that respect boost on the series there. Makes me more... Oh, I just remembered. I'm gonna tell you guys now. I literally added a new song to my list of to-do songs on DigiJams Volume 2, and that song is going to be about burst mode. So yeah, you can thank Digimon Savers and also Tasso for that inspiration there. We're going to have a burst mode Digimon song. So look forward to that shit. I don't know what it's going to sound like yet, but it'll come to us. Just got to find some good samples from the series to use as like little set pieces in the music. Yeah, thank you guys for vibing and watching and listening to my thoughts on this series.